Have you ever felt like you've hit rock bottom? Like everything you've worked for, everything you hold dear, is just slipping through your fingers? If so, I want to tell you a story about a man who lost it all, but in losing everything, found the one thing that could never be taken away. This is the story of Job. Imagine a man who had it all. He was wealthy, respected by everyone in his community, and deeply faithful to God. He had a beautiful, loving family, vast herds of livestock, and a life that most people could only dream of. By every measure, Job was not just successful, he was a good man, righteous and upright. But then, in the blink of an eye, his world collapsed. A series of devastating tragedies struck one after another, without warning, without mercy. First, his oxen and donkeys were stolen, and his servants were killed. Then, a fire from the sky burned up his sheep and shepherds' necks. Raiders carried off his camels and killed more of his servants. And then, the final, unthinkable blow. A mighty wind collapsed the house where his children were gathered, and all of them were gone. In a single day, Job's wealth vanished, and his family was taken from him. He went from a life of abundance to a pile of ashes, from a place of honor to one of utter humiliation. As if this crushing loss wasn't enough, his own body turned against him. Painful sores erupted all over his skin, from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. He was in constant, agonizing pain. His suffering was so great that even his wife, the one person he might have expected to stand by him, came to him and said, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." Imagine hearing those words from the person you love most. Then came his friends. They sat with him in silence for 7 days, but when they finally spoke, their words were not of comfort, but of accusation. They insisted that his suffering must be a punishment for some secret sin. They couldn't believe that a good man would suffer so terribly. So, Job was left completely alone, abandoned by his wife, accused by his friends, and tormented by his own body. But here, in the darkest moment of his life, in the middle of unimaginable pain and grief, Job made a powerful choice. He tore his robe and shaved his head in mourning. But then he fell to the ground and worshipped. He said these incredible words, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Now, let's be clear. Job did not pretend to be some kind of superhero. He didn't just smile through the pain. He was devastated. He cried out. He questioned God. He poured out all of his anger, confusion, and grief. He wasn't afraid to be honest about his suffering. But through all of it, he never turned his back on God. He never lost his faith. This is a profound lesson from Job's story. Faith is not about avoiding pain. It's not a guarantee of a trouble-free life. Faith is about trusting God right in the middle of the pain. Job had no idea why this was happening to him. He couldn't see the bigger picture, but he knew who God was. He held on to God's character even when he couldn't understand his circumstances. He chose endurance over bitterness, trust over despair, and faith over surrender. And then, in God's perfect timing, everything changed. After Job had endured, after he had prayed even for the friends who accused him, God stepped in. He restored Job's health. He restored his joy, and then he gave him double what he had lost. New children, new wealth, a new beginning that was even more blessed than the first. What was meant to destroy Job, what was meant to break his spirit and his faith, became the very platform for his ultimate victory and testimony. So, what does this mean for you right now, watching this video? Maybe you're going through a loss. Maybe you feel forgotten, like your prayers are just hitting the ceiling and falling back down. Maybe you feel like you're in your own season of suffering, and you can't see a way out. Remember, Job, your pain is not the end of your story. Your suffering is not proof that God has abandoned you. Sometimes, the path of endurance is the very road that leads to restoration. Don't give up. Don't let bitterness take root in your heart. Hold on to your faith, even if it's just by a thread. The trial you are surviving today could become the testimony that encourages someone else tomorrow. Because just like Job, you may lose many things in this life, but if you never lose your faith, you will never truly be defeated. Thanks for watching. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of hope. See you next time.